Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. You all look great out there. Welcome to our virtual CEO Summit. Bienvenidos. My name is Esperanza Porras Field. I am the President Emeritus and founder of the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce. Before we begin the program, we would like to provide you with some housekeeping best practices. Today is a virtual meeting and it's alive. We can see all of you, your faces interact on camera. However, please be sure that you keep your microphones muted throughout the meeting until it's your time to speak. To get the best experience, we recommend that you use a speaker's view by clicking on the options on the top right of your screen, which will allow you to maximize the use of your screen to view the speakers. Please hold your questions to until the end. There will be a Q&A portion of the program where you can ask questions. At that time, please type into the chat or use the revise your hand feature. So it's a feature there that you can press on it. If you'd like to know more about the speakers, the moderator, and the panelists, please look for them in LinkedIn. Lastly, this event is being recorded. By staying on the meeting, you will consent to begin to be part of this recording. Muchas gracias. Now, let me introduce you to our sponsor, the Coca-Cola Company representative. Hope Field is the Senior Manager of Latin Affairs of the Coca-Cola Company. In her role, she serves as the National Spokeswoman for Coca-Cola North America, where she manages the company efforts and strengthens relationships across the East Coast, including Puerto Rico, focusing on the USA Hispanic market. She establishes, develops the execution of local, regional, and national strategies that position the company as the leading corporate citizen. Hope manages relationships with key Hispanic political, community, business, and civic leaders. Throughout her career, Hope has served as a connector between public, private, and nonprofit entities, and advocate to empower business communities. Currently, Hope is the Corporate Advisory Chairwoman and immediately Chairwoman for the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce. She also serves as the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Senior Executive Corporate Advisory Board and Unidos Corporate Board of Advisors. Thank you, Hope, for your support and efforts and your sponsorship. Welcome, Hope.
Thank you kindly, Esperanza. Buenas tardes. On behalf of Coca-Cola and the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce, bienvenidos. Welcome to the annual CEO Summit. During today's event, the panelists will share what their companies are doing in terms of corporate and social responsibility, and in particular, how they are creating business value through inclusion. Like the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce and these companies, Coca-Cola shares the passion and determination to achieve positive change and to build a more sustainable future for our communities and for our planet. Diversity and inclusion are at the heart of our values and our growth strategy and play an important part of our company's success. Our aspiration is not only to mirror the diversity of communities where we operate, but also to lead and advocate for a better shared future. We foster a culture that values the similarities and differences of all people and cultures. In fact, inclusion is one of our company's 4 growth behaviors. And we encourage associates to embrace the different ideas, perspectives, and backgrounds in everything that they do. Our business resource groups have more than 2,700 members, and continue to be an essential part of the diversity and inclusion strategy. Our 3 diversity councils made up of internal leadership continue to be a driving force in shaping an inclusive culture and advancing diverse talent and serving as an incubator for fresh ideas. These 3 include the Global Women's Leadership Council, the Multicultural Leadership Council, and the Millennial Voices Leadership Council. In addition to these councils that are made up of internal leadership, we have the Hispanic Advisory Council, established in 2005, made up of external and internal leadership, and is managed by my department, the Office of Latin Affairs, to provide strategic insight and to help deepen the company's understanding of the United States market that is impacting our business. In order to grow the right way in this ever-changing multicultural world, Coca-Cola's leadership has provided guidance and knowledge in maximizing opportunities and to build strong connections within the community. The council is chaired by Alfredo Rivera, who's our new president. He started 2.5 months ago of Coca-Cola North America, and was previously chaired by the president prior to him, which was Jim Dinkins. And internal members join the meeting to present incentives and receive advice from the council. We are proud to have been awarded on the HACED Corporate Inclusion Index for demonstrating our commitment to Hispanic inclusion in corporate America. And we're long-time partners and advocates for HACED. And it's an honor to have Sid Wilson here with us, the president of HACED, as our moderator. Since we are virtual, we have guests from all over the country today. So wherever you are, I hope that you are enjoying your favorite Coca-Cola beverage. I'm in New Jersey with a view of New York City. So I have my New York City bottle here with me. And to salute this organization as they operate with passion and make an impact. Now I have the honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Leticia Cavanis. Mrs. Cavanis executes on the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer's vision and priorities by partnering with senior executives across a $8.6 billion annual budget. She provides key support with diverse responsibilities ranging from working with the executive staff members from each division that report to the chief, providing oversight of workforce diversity and inclusion programs, equal opportunity and civil rights compliance, and increasing business diversity opportunities via certification, compliance, and capacity building programs. Ms. Cavanis is a bilingual management professional with over 10 years of experience in policy analysis, program development, public agency budgeting, financial services, performance reporting, and general community building. She is well known for networking, public speaking, achieving results, and having a deliberate focus on diversity and inclusion. Ms. Cavanis holds a Master of Science in Public and Policy and Management from Carnegie Mellon University. She earned her Bachelor's of Arts in Urban Studies from the University of California at Berkeley. And now, without further ado, it's my honor to introduce a woman who so many women look up to and we very much admire, Ms. Cavanis.
Hi, muy buenas tardes. Me da mucho gusto estar aquí con ustedes y para platicar sobre un tema que me encanta, diversidad e inclusión. Very good afternoon to everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you all and to be able to speak and discuss a topic that I'm very passionate about, and that's diversity and inclusion. On behalf of the Port Authority, I thank Chairman Ralph Tejada and the 2 co-chairs for this event, Esperanza Field and Tony Mileli, for producing this annual CEO Summit focused on inclusion. We thank the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce for creating digital networking opportunities for Latino and minority businesses to engage with one another and share information. I also thank my Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, Mike Messiah, our Chairman, Kevin O'Toole, our Board of Commissioners, and our Executive Director, Rick Cotton, for their daily leadership in achieving our agency's D&I agenda. Having support at the very top of the organization makes it easier to remain committed to establishing policies and programs that enable us as an agency to increase business diversity opportunities, as well as to build a workplace culture that, that is focused on inclusion. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Leticia Cavanis, Deputy Chief of Staff for the Office of Diversity and Inclusion at the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. I was born in Santa Ana, California, and grew up in Escondido, a city that's 35 miles from the US-Mexico border, one of the longest boundaries between a developed country and a developing country in the world. My mother was the eldest of 12 and was only able to complete a 3rd grade level education. My father is the second of 6 and was only able to get a 6th grade level education because he did not have the transportation to get from his hometown to where the next school was, which was about 30 kilometers away and a little too long to walk, right? So through my own parents' experience of them growing up in Mexico and being limited by the nature of their circumstances, I got to understand how vital transportation is for some families to access economic advancement opportunities. To this day, I am the only one in my family to hold an advanced degree, and I am a proud product of first-generation college programs. I am personally grateful for organizations such as yours, which many times offer scholarships, and myself, I received a scholarship from my then local San Diego Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm a strong advocate for economic empowerment programs because when designed correctly and inclusive, they can have powerful, life-changing results. Today, I have the honor of discussing the importance of engaging communities in infrastructure projects and dedicating resources to support workforce diversity and inclusion programs. For those of you who may not know, Port Authority is a multimodal transportation agency. We have facilities in both New York and New Jersey, and we are a financially self-reliant organization, so we don't receive any relief from either state. At the Port Authority, diversity and inclusion is one of our standards, along with integrity. In pursuing the agency's mission to keep the region moving, we not only hold ourselves to these standards, but we hold our business partners to these standards. Our tenants, our developers, people we have contracts with are rated based on these standards. Just for some context, in 2018, our board adopted a policy to raise the MWBE goal from 17% to 30% participation. And this was predicated on a disparity study. Since then, we have been marching as fast as possible to try to eliminate barriers to contracting opportunities, provide assistance to our region's minority, women-owned, disadvantaged, small and service disabled veteran-owned businesses, as well as local businesses to increase diverse business participation across all categories of procurement. While COVID-19 has dramatically declined activity levels across all our facilities, the agency still remains highly committed to diversity and inclusion. The agency has continued to make progress on our business diversity goals, which are some of the highest in the nation. And I would like to just take a moment to illustrate some of those D&I programs that we offer and have positioned our agency to be a leader in business diversity and have increased MWB participation. One practice we put in place is that we now require that anyone who sits on an RFP selection committee complete unconscious bias training in an effort to not have the results of the RFP reflect our own personal biases. Another item we put in place is that we established a small business enterprise set-aside program. And what this means is that for our construction contracts, we have been able to drive the dollar value and the number of awards up. So in 2018, when we first had the program in place, we were at 15 million in terms of the value of awards to SBEs through this program. In 2019, that tripled to 45 million. In terms of the volume of contracts, we went from 13 in 2018 to double that in 2019, up to 26. The third item is that we have launched various training programs to help firms build capacity. And this includes an Architecture and Engineering Principles Academy, a small contractor coaching program, construction management training, and lean training. We also developed MWB requirements and local participation guidance and design build requirements for JFK redevelopment partners and are using this as a model for our other projects. Some of the results from these new policies and practices include, one, a selection of a new Port Authority bond underwriting team composed of 33% MBEs at the senior level, 57% MBEs at the co-manager level, 44% MBEs at the sales manager level. This is the highest in the agency's history. Over the next few years, this team of underwriters is expected to issue approximately 8 billion in Port Authority bonds. The retention of minority-owned legal firm to serve as a legal counsel for the Port Authority's insurance captive entity is one to note. And in addition, within the professional services category, the hiring of an MWBE accounting firm who prepares a portion of our annual audits. Many of you, if you follow Port Authority on LinkedIn, you may see a lot of activity related to our major airport redevelopment projects. One of those is a whole new LaGuardia. The project has achieved more than 1.4 billion worth of contracts to MWBEs. The project has maintained a focus on ensuring that the economic benefits of the airport redevelopment project accrue to local communities. We set up community outreach offices for this project and stood up programs to hire locally, provide job training, and partner with community-based organizations. The JFK redevelopment project is another one which you may see a lot of outreach on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. This project has an advisory council that is led by local officials and community leaders. And they together develop MWBE and local programs. And we've been able to stand up a variety of outreach programs. One of those is a matchmaking program for employers to be matched with local job seekers. Another is a second chance employment program, which is of interest for our New York governor. And the third is aviation STEM program for local K through 12 students to be able to be introduced to jobs in the aviation industry. Another is the terminal operator commitments to local concessionaires and business development services. Here in the Garden State, you may be familiar with the EWR Terminal 1 project, which has awarded more than 400 million worth of contracts to MWBEs. This translates to job opportunities and economic activity in the state. During the pandemic, the agency has held over 140 successful virtual outreach programs and engaged with almost 8,000 participants between March and July. These events allowed the Port Authority to introduce participants to contracting opportunities. Sorry, my light went out. And to help businesses navigate the agency's various line departments. We're a very large organization, and sometimes it can seem overwhelming in terms of how do you navigate the bureaucracy, how do you find the contracting opportunities. We have a very dedicated team of diversity and inclusion advocates within my office. The compliance team is here to assist if you are interested in becoming certified with the Port Authority and or bidding on one of our open opportunities, or even becoming a vendor in our database so that your name would come up. If you need assistance with this, you can email my colleague, Glenessa Gordon, at gordon@panyj.gov. And while I focus somebody's not on mute. While I focused a lot on the supplier diversity, I also want to take a moment just to note that while all of that activity is underway with our external stakeholders and trying to get firm certified with our agency. We had also had an internal effort on our workforce D&I side of the shop to ensure that employees have a safe space to have productive conversations about race dynamics, national incidents, and protests. And we have 9 employee business resource groups that have been keenly involved in recruitment, retention, and employee engagement programs. And while we have made progress both internally and externally, our work is not done. We need organizations such as yours to partner with and create wealth in neighborhoods and communities that are historically underrepresented. Sí se puede, sí se puede. Yes, we can, y que viva la raza. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisette, for those words. And next we have, I have the honor of introducing our event co-chair, Antonetta Malelli, who is the founder and CEO of the offices of Antonetta L. Malelli. She received her Juris Doctor from Seton Hall University after graduating magna cum laude from Syracuse University. She was honored with the Business Woman of the Year Award by the Morris County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in 2011, and she is a member of the Trademark Women Distinction Honors edition for demonstrating professional excellence in the legal field. She has received Distinguished Service Awards by her local government and state of New Jersey General Assembly, U.S. House of Representatives citation for outstanding leadership and dedication to the business community. She is a long-term member of this chamber and a longtime friend, and we're honored to have her co-chair. She also recently joined our Corporate Advisory Council. Antonetta Malelli.
Tony, you're on mute.
Thank you, Hope, for such a warm welcome. It is my pleasure to be here today. We have a fantastic panel of CEOs and recognized leaders with us today who will share with us how diversity and inclusion affects their company and creates value for their business. It is my honor to introduce our distinguished panelists. For those that don't know her, Elizabeth Chalice Berman, Liz, has been recognized as an entrepreneur, educator, humanitarian, and leader in business. Liz is the president and CEO of Continental Food and Beverage Inc., CF&B, exclusive bottler of brands Inca Cola for the Coca-Cola Company. Liz spearheaded the company's community outreach department, which supports local, national, and international organizations. She has volunteered and sponsored humanitarian missions throughout Latin America. Recently, she was an integral activist for an organization known as Friends of Lead-Free Children, holding annual trips to the Dominican Republic and responsible for the cleanup of one of the worst lead contamination sites in the world. Liz currently serves on the Caldwell University Board of Trustees. She served as a former board member of the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and is an active participant and supporter of various national Hispanic organizations, including HARC, Unidos US, the Hispanic Federation, and of course, the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce, and many others. Our next panelist, Robert Norman, is an exemplary 25-year veteran of the real estate industry and current president of Caldwell Banker Residential Brokerage. Rob is a disciplined and fantastic leader responsible for the operations of 48 real estate brokerage sales offices and over 4,000 agents in New Jersey and the Rockland County, New York areas. Rob earned a bachelor's degree in communications and public relations from Susquehanna University, and he, like myself, is a lifelong resident of New Jersey. Welcome, Rob. Our next panelist, an entrepreneurial leader, Niharika Shah, has spent the past 20 years building brand and marketing organizations in financial services and high growth consumer environments. As CMO of the Tiffin Group, Niharika leads a talented team of performance brand PR professionals and agency relationships. Niharika is also the founder and CEO of Chefs, S-H-E-F-S, an online marketplace for ready-made sauces inspired and created by women with origins from across the globe. She aims to create income for these women by tapping into their talent and their family heritage through cooking. Niharika has been recognized for leadership in fostering connections between people, culture, and brand. She instills confidence and a personal touch in all her relationships. She is a recipient of a Leadership Award for Women in Communications and received the Marketer of the Year Award in 2016 from the Financial Communications Society. Niharika holds a Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Science from the University of Mumbai and earned an Executive MBA in Marketing and Entrepreneurship from Rutgers University. We're so happy to have you, Niharika. Thank you for joining us. Our other panelist is Dr. Anthony J. Iacono, a community college graduate, became the third president of County College of Morris, CCM, on September 1st, 2016. He began his career in education as a professor in history. Prior to his presidency of CCM, he served as Vice President of Academic Affairs at Indian River State College in Florida, where he was a core member of the team that helped the college earn recognition as one of the top 3 community colleges in the nation. Committed to the mission of community colleges and their ability to provide superior and equitable educational opportunities and transformative life experiences, he is also a firm believer that great community colleges are economic engines and vehicles of social mobility that lift all people and entire communities. Through his leadership, Dr. Iacono helps individuals achieve their dreams, business and organizations reach higher levels of success, which strengthens our communities. As a strong supporter of higher education and its power to transform lives, Dr. Iacono has served as an advisor of the U.S. Department of Education, the Florida Department of Education, various national think tanks, and educational reform organizations. Dr. Iacono is a first-generation college student, a status I can also relate to, and as our keynote speaker. He received his PhD in American History from Mississippi State University, his MA and BA in American History from the University of Central Florida, and his associates in Arts and General Studies from Indian River Community College. And of course, we have our honored keynote speaker, Leticia Cavanis, Deputy Chief of Staff, Office of Diversity and Inclusion for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Welcome all. We're so excited to have you with us. It is also my honor to introduce and welcome Ralph Tejeda. He is the chairman of the board of directors for the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce. He was elected in January 2020, where he also previously served as secretary for the chamber. Mr. Tejeda supports the Hispanic community for many reasons. One of the programs that is dearest to his heart is the Community Cares program sponsored by the Chamber, which helps organize, donate, and distribute food to needy families, helping over 1,200 families per week, along with the Chamber's Community Garden program, which is very dear to his heart. Born in Toms River, New Jersey, the son of Dominican parents, and raised in New Rochelle, New York, he graduated Northeastern University, receiving his Bachelor of Science in International Business. We welcome the chairman of our CEO Summit, Ralph Tejeda.
Thank you, Tony. It's a pleasure being here with everyone. Thank you for those warm introductions. And I'm very happy and impressed with our panel. This is going to be a great session. We really look forward to hearing everyone speak. At this time, I would like to thank our co-chairs, Esperanza and Tony, for everything you've done. Really couldn't have done this without you. I would also like to thank Hope and Sebastian Berenes. He's our public relations director, for helping out as well. Together, we need to fight for policy that provides equal access and opportunities for people who might otherwise be excluded. And we're happy that we have people like Sid Wilson. Sid is president and CEO of the Hispanic Association on Corporate Responsibility, ARCER. He is the leading nation's largest advocate group advancing Hispanic inclusion in corporate America. ARCER creates forums to ensure corporate responsibility for the nation's growing population. He is a great speaker. He is a rock star. He has been involved in many financial decisions and been on TV. So we're happy to have Sid here. Sid, in addition to being our moderator, is also a childhood friend. We come from Dominican parents, and we came here to speak with you and to enjoy this time so that we can elaborate on things and diversity. So Sid, please take it away.
There we go. Thank you, everybody. Well, first, let me just start by saying, buena noche, mi gente on the East Coast. Buenas tardes if you're on the West Coast. And it's great to be here with everyone. I just want to first start by thanking the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce, the incomparable Esperanza Porterfield, who I've known for many years, has been my shero in New Jersey, just not only championing Hispanic business, but also Hispanic inclusion in New Jersey. And I want to just make sure I recognize the chairman emeritus of the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce, Esperanza. Thank you for your leadership, Esperanza. And of course, to my longtime friend since childhood, Ralph Tejeda, the chairman of the board. Thank you for your leadership that you're providing to the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce. And to Hope Field, a great colleague who's leading the way at the Coca-Cola company, who was so proud of Hope because not only is she a proud New Jersey resident, but she's making major achievements at the Coca-Cola company around the country, serving on some prominent boards. And I look forward to thank you for your leadership, and to Tony Morelli and everyone, all the esteemed colleagues. Thank you so much. So let's get started with this session. So you've seen you've heard the introductions of our esteemed panelists, and my job is to moderate this session, to give everyone a chance to hear not only some key questions about them as executive leaders, and you'll see that some of the executive leaders are vary. Dr. Ancono is the president of County College of Morris, so his executive leadership is at a community college level. And of course, Leticia Cavanas, keynote speaker in a quasi-governmental capacity at the Port Authority in New York and New Jersey. By the way, I look forward to Terminal 1 opening up. I'm really excited about that in Newark. And then the others are come from corporate, and so but you can see some common denominators that really apply to all of these esteemed leaders. So my first question, as I ask these questions, and also for the audience, I'm going to ask some questions, and after that, I'm going to give a chance for all of you to ask questions. They'll be fed to me, and I'll share them with our panel. So my first question is, can you talk about the mindset of the executive leader? We know that executive leaders often have a certain mindset in terms of how they lead and some of the rituals that you do, and and some of the things that you even that not only do you do that's part of that mindset, but also how you think about that mindset when you're leading your institutions. I'll start with my good friend Elizabeth Berman from Inca Kola, and also if everyone to keep it to about 2 minutes, so that way. We'll get to all the questions, and then we'll open up for questions after the audience.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you, Sid. And good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here from the Inca Kola family. And I got it right here. Happy holidays. I just, thinking about the mindset of an executive, I come from an entrepreneurial family. As you all know, Continental Food and Beverage is a family operated business. But having an executive mindset to me is sort of the ability to know all the levels within your organization, within your business. As an entrepreneur and the CEO of this family operated business, I make sure that I know everyone in my organization, from the C-suites all the way to where my warehouse guys who are responsible for the backbone of my business to load my trucks and to also for my drivers. So it's important for us as entrepreneurs, as CEOs of organizations, to have that mindset. You're not just way up here, you have to be at all levels within your organization. You said 2 minutes, I could go on and on, but I'll be mindful and respectful for everybody, Sid. If there's anything else, let me know.
No, we will. Well, one day we'll do a session just on this alone, because I know this topic could be one that we can give a lot of feedback. But Robert Norman, tell me about just your executive leadership mindset as leading Coldwell Banker.
It's first of all, thank you, Sid, for having me on the panel. And Esperanza, I got to meet you about 10 years ago when you introduced me to the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and I've been lucky enough to be peripherally involved for all these years. So thank you for everything. Executive mindset, Elizabeth, I can't agree with you more with what it is. I actually start the day with a simple affirmation that I say to myself, and that's I serve agents. My job within this company is not necessarily to direct the company. I have about 4,000 independent contractors who go home every evening, and my job is to create the environment that makes them come back in the morning. So every morning I wake up and I look myself in the mirror and I say to myself, I serve agents. And if I keep that in mind, and if I keep in mind that if I do a great job serving my agents and giving them the tools and resources so they can best serve the consumer, well then, my company is going to succeed and I'm going to have a great opportunity to grow. So it's a very simple mindset.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. Dr. Iacona, and by the way, congratulations on being the third president of County College of Morris. I actually served as vice chairman of the Board of Trustees at Bergen Community College for many years, up until 2014. So I have a lot of admiration for County College of Morris. So thank you for your leadership. But what's your executive mindset as the president of County College of Morris?
Hey, well, so I wanted to start and thank Esperanza and Hope. I just really am always delighted to work with them. Their leadership is extraordinary. And I would tell you, I've learned if you get a phone call from Esperanza, pick it up because it will always be something good and it will always be a benefit to others. So one of my favorite people to work with. My mindset really is about impact, and community colleges are different than universities. And that, Sid, having served on the board. Universities are your big research schools by and large, but your community colleges are the engines that really make communities work. So for me, it's about impact. We have 1,000 employees, we have 8,000 college credit students, 4,000 workforce students needing job training, retraining, but then there's the whole community at large. We want to make sure we're doing our mission of really, really helping the community grow, helping make sure there's opportunity for everyone in that, so that at the end of the day, Morris County is a stronger community because of County College of Morris, the partnerships we build, and how we serve people. So that's really what we're after every day.
Thank you, Dr. Iacona. Thank you. Niharika Shah, how are you? Talk to us about your executive mindset.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was having problems with my audio before, so I just wanted to make sure. But thank you. It's such a wonderful panel and glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. I think for me, the mindset boils down to three things. I think good leaders are very self-aware. They know themselves cold and they know what they're good at and they know what they're not very good at. So you know how to recruit around you and build a followership. I think the second is this idea of providing clarity and outcome orientation where people can thrive and grow because they know what is to be achieved and there's a clear path to doing that. And if there is not, you create one together. And I think finally, whether it's being a debate maker or creating a psychologically safe environment for people to really bring their best self, but also be able to offer up ideas without fear or repercussions in that way. So I think it's creating success at every point in the organization. It's providing clarity. And then I think really digging deep and understanding who you are as an executive and being self-aware about that.
Thank you, Niharika. Thank you. And Leticia, keynote speaker. It's great. We heard a lot about the great diversity initiatives at Port Authority. But what about you? What's your executive mindset?
Yeah, I'm going to speak from the perspective of leading the team that's on the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. And here, I think we have to distinguish that the mindset when we're in person and in the office, which we are not right now, we're operating remote. We do have staff that is essential and are at the facilities. They got to make sure the airports keep running, that type of thing. But managing staff in this remote environment during the pandemic requires a different mindset. For me, one of two of the skills that I think are essential for leaders to demonstrate and keep in mind every single day is flexibility and empathy. We have staff that currently has children at home. You got feeding schedules that you have to be mindful of. You have remote learning schedules that you need to be mindful of, and you need your employees to take mental health self-care moments, and you got to create the space to allow them to recharge, right? So to me, reminding yourself to treat people like people is crucial, because it's a different response if you see each other as individuals rather than here's this individual who's going to generate X productivity and give me these revenues. Treat them as people, right? We all have the commonalities of needing to sleep, eat, and recharge. So, I come at it from that regard. There's a simple thing that was recommended in an article from the Harvard Business Review, and that is the act of simply asking somebody, how are you doing today? Before you get down to the business, check in with them. That way you get a quick glimpse at where are they? And are they ready to dive into this deep, complex issue? Do they need a moment because of everything that life is throwing at them? So you meet them where they are. And they'll be grateful for that, right? If you give them a little bit, they'll come back and give you 10 times more. So I just wanted to clarify that. And also, as an executive leader, you ought to be able to demonstrate what it looks like to take moments for yourself for self-care, to have your daily rituals. I thankfully have a little 3-year-old Afro-Latina daughter. She keeps our household in a very strict ritual. So I'm telling you, we go, we clock off from the online world and we have a ritual at home. Those daily rituals can make a big difference. The predictability for our daughter also matters, right? And you have to do what you need to do in order to take your walks, get your opportunity to catch up on Audible books or whatever it is that feeds you, and to be able to start the day all over again the next day. So thank you for that question.
Great, thank you, Leticia. Here's a question. It's kind of a two-part question. Can you talk about your rise up the corporate ladder? Was it linear? Did you have to zigzag? Do you and part of the question is whether you executives should have that kind of flexibility to zigzag if that's what it takes to move up in the corporate ladder. Let me start with you, Robert Norman. you know, on your ascension, and whether it was linear or did you have to have some flexibility?
It was more or less linear. It's funny, I want to touch on something Leticia said a second ago, which is funny. One of the mindset is I too have a 3-year-old upstairs who keeps me on schedule, and a 5-year-old who is homeschooling upstairs currently at this moment as well. And I don't know what time it is, she's probably done, but it's one of the executive mindsets, which is you might be the president when you're in the office or when you're at work, but sometimes when you come home, you really quickly learn you're not the president at home. And coming home at the end of that day and making sure that my wife and my kids realize that I'm part of the team and I'm also have an active involvement in the home is equally as important. So knowing when to turn it off and knowing when you got to dive in and cooperate at that is equally as difficult. But back to the question that you just asked, it was very linear. I think you could say I zigged, but I didn't zag. I started in the family business, in the real estate business coming out of college. I remember there was a situation where, and you know, I know this is on Facebook and the person may even recall this situation. Somebody had said to me, we're going to work for you one day because this is your father's company. And I remember thinking that, you know what, if that's the reason they're going to work for me one day, well, then perhaps I'm not fully stretching myself as far as I needed to be stretched. So within a couple of years, we had sold that family business and I struck off on my own and I joined Caldwell Banker. So for the last 18 years, I actually, you know, left the family business, joined a large publicly traded corporation and slugged it out. I spent 18 years managing an office in Montclair. Then I had moved to the Marshtown office where I had the pleasure of meeting the fields. And then I became a regional vice president for the central half of New Jersey, for the central portion of New Jersey with the company, and then moving up to Bergen, Hudson, Passaic, Essex, and Rockland County, New York. Spent a couple of years up there. And then recently, just about 4 months ago, was named the president of the entire New Jersey operation in Rockland County. So it was a zig from the family organization, but then very linear from that point out.
Yeah, no, that's good to know, because again, some people, you know, you rise up within the corporate ladder and then eventually become the CEO. So thank you, congratulations, Dr. Iacona. I you know, yours is unique because you started in, you know, in the South, I think, in Florida, and then came in here. But talk to us about how your overall higher education executive ascension leading up to County College of Morris.
Mine was semi-linear, basically, that, you know, in a traditional sense, I had my academic credentials. I taught history for about 10 years. And then a number of senior administrators at Indian River State College said, we're going to be hiring. We've got some retirements coming up. We're going to be hiring. You should apply for one of these academic dean positions. So I did. And when I was done, they said, that was fantastic. That was outstanding. And I thought I had it. And they said, we're not going to hire you for it. And they said, instead, we're going to move you over to our adult education division. You'll oversee GED and then adult high school and ESL and developmental. And I said, I don't know anything about any of that. And they said, but your whole interview, you talked about people and how it's important for people to have opportunities. And you shared lots of opportunity or lots of examples of individuals who maybe have never had and wouldn't have a chance for an opportunity, and how you would provide that. And these are our students who have the greatest need. So I said, we have those programs? They said, yeah, they're out behind the other buildings. And they were like in trailers. It was terrible. So I got the job. I loved it. It was one of the biggest blessings I ever had in my life. And what we did was rebuilt the whole thing to make sure every one of those kids had a chance to go to college. And within about 3 years, close to 1,000 a year were graduating from college. They weren't in trailers. They had a 45,000 square foot state-of-the-art building for themselves. We had partnerships, and that kind of got some notice, right? And you know, I liked the community impact. I had a 10,000 student ESL program, which I loved. That was wildly exciting. And I'm only the third generation in this country. My great grandparents came from Sicily, and I grew up very, very close to them and my grandparents. And I thought, wow, if they had these opportunities, imagine what they could have achieved. So that was really exciting and driving. And but just at the point, I was really, really thrilled and would have spent the rest of my life doing that very happily. Then I got another phone call and got moved to become an academic vice president, brought those programs along even further and others, and reached into communities that were seriously underserved, and was very happy doing that, would have done that cheerfully for the rest of my life. And then I got a call from New Jersey asking if I would be interested in the presidency up here, to which I said no. I had kids in school, and I wasn't looking to leave Florida, and they told me about it, and it sounded really good. So I came up, and long story short, here I am, and it is really good. It's a pretty amazing place to live. So mine was semi-linear, but my focus is still the same. You know, how do we reach into communities? How do we reach people who need added support, who need a little bit of direction, who need a lot of resources to make sure they have great opportunities? I really do work with the idea every single day. If we're leaving anyone behind, we're all getting left behind. We don't have enough talent to leave anybody behind in this country. And so the goal and the job every day is, let's make sure we've got good impact on lives, good impact on communities. That's what makes it fun for me.
Thank you, Dr. Iacono. That's appreciate that. Liz, you know, your linear ascension to being the head of Inca Cola and Continental Beverages, you know,
Well, mine has been, Sid, sort of zigzag, curve, linear. I started off, I'm a elementary school ESL bilingual education teacher. I wasn't on the family business. My husband actually started on the family business before I even started as our COO. I had to find my niche within our own business of what it was that I was good at. And to me, one of the things that I had to do, first of all, theoretically, you have to be part of the team. So food and beverages, most of the time, it was a boys' industry. So to me, to get in there, I had to be part of the team, part of the boys' teams. I went on trucks to do deliveries to see what it was like. I was out there in fairs and festivals with my parents, giving samples of our product to make sure, you know, everyone, to get Inca Cola in the hands of everybody. But basically, you know, when I think about that question, how do you become, you have to seize the moment, find your niche, and also be a part of the team. That's how you get ahead. I have families members part of my organization, and I also have my own children. One of them is not part of the organization. She's in corporate America. She has to zigzag. She works for CBS, the networks, and she's an executive there. And one of the most important, when I asked her about that question, she goes, "Ma, you have to be part of the team. Take what's given to you right there. Do the best you can with the task at hand, and make sure you align yourself with a good mentor." And I know that leads into the next question, but she said, in corporate America, you need a good mentor, somebody who's got your back. And so I thought I'd throw that out there. It might not be the same for entrepreneurs, but it is basically the same, whether you're in corporate America or you're running a small business. You have to have mentors. You have to have somebody to have your back.
That's important, Liz, and we're going to get to go deeper into that question. That's a really, really key topic when we talk about mentorship and sponsorship. Niharika, you know, you have a very strong marketing background and rolls up to yours. But tell us about your ascension, and was it linear, or did you have to zigzag?
Well, I zagged when everybody zigged. But I think, you know, there's a Buddhist quote that says that a path that can be named is not worth traveling. It's something like that. But essentially, it's not been linear at all. And I don't think, at least for a person like me, it could have been linear. And to overplay the metaphor, I'll say my path has been lily padian. So you know how these lily pads grow and you jump from one lily pad to another lily pad. So certainly it's a little bit of this, you know, left and right, but always headed forward. And I think what has changed in my career is my appreciation and my desire for impact. You know, it started, as most careers do, thinking about you as an individual, as a career. And I think then that purview expands, right, in terms of the impact and the relationships you want to have with your team, for your company, the impact that you want to make to the organization, to your family, and then finally grows into the impact that you want to make to the larger society. So I think of it as I, us, and we, which has sort of driven which lily pads I've jumped on and when that has happened. From just getting into my career, I'm a reformed engineer, if there is one, right? So I started in engineering, computer science, came to this country 25 years ago with really nothing. So I'm living the American dream. It's there, it's out there for the taking. And I'm a big believer in the American spirit. So I came here thinking I would get my PhD in algorithmic science, and then very quickly discovered marketing was more fun. So I, happened to be at this beautiful intersection where marketing and technology came together, and the .com e-commerce sort of boom, and rode that wave. But then, as my career has progressed, I turned from an individual contributor to a team contributor, and what I want to do now, which is one of my passion projects, as I call it, and Tony has been an excellent partner in this, is Chefs, where I'm looking for a broader impact and legacy, in terms of what people will remember my contributions as, of course, as part of a company, as part of corporate sort of delivering results, but what else remains once you're not in the room, right? That's what I'm driven by.
Thank you, Niharika. And Leticia.
Yeah, that was an excellent response. And I just want to highlight again, so I'm not a CEO, right? I'm in public sector. I am part of the executive team at the Port Authority, and the path to here has been, I think, more zigzag. While I've remained within the same organization, I've had roles in 6 departments in the last 8 years. And prior to that was in the nonprofit space. It's always been on the nonprofit public sector side. Never held a role in the private side. However, through my volunteer hats, have developed leadership skills. And I think Niharika was saying, sometimes your day job may not allow you to really drive socioeconomic change, to try to address issues that you care very deeply about. The good thing is there's a lot of nonprofit organizations that allow you to build on that and fulfill that need, that side of you. And I did a lot of that. Always had a theme of volunteering throughout my career. And one thing I just want to highlight, I couldn't be here without the support of my better half, my husband, who is constantly whispering that I'm capable of more than I know. While I was, a new mother, and I was like, oh Lord, how am I going to juggle the whole, career woman plus the new needs at home? And I didn't see how everything was going to fit. He was always a firm believer that I could do more than I even knew I could. And so far, it's been proven to be true so far. So the story's still being written. We'll see where life goes from here. But to have somebody along your side that is constantly reminding you to set higher expectations for yourself than the world has for you is just powerful. And I have that partner with me. And he also shares in similar values. We both care about diversity and inclusion. So he gives me the space to be able to wear so many hats outside of my 9 to 5 and to fulfill my passions. He also wears hats outside of our day jobs. And so we give each other that space to be able to serve in our volunteer roles, and to be able to drive solutions in issues and causes that we care very deeply about. So thank you for that.
Great. Thank you, Leticia. So kind of building a little bit about what Elizabeth was beginning to talk about, which is that often when you're an executive leader, you had some mentorship and sponsorship that helped get you to where you are. And my question is how valuable was that for you? And are you passing the torch to others? Liz, since you started talking about this, you want to talk briefly about the power of mentorship and sponsorship as an executive leader?
Definitely mentors are crucial. You always have to have somebody that has your back. somebody who believes in your skills and can guide you through the process, especially in corporate America. I feel that gives you, it gives you a guideline. You're doing what you have to do, but you have somebody behind you that's got your back. Also, as a leader, it's important to empower others that are working for you and to see all the talents of these people. You have to know the talents of all the different individuals that are working for you. So not only do you need a mentor, it is also very important within an organization and for your business to be successful, to recognize the talents of everybody around you and to empower those that need empowerment in order for your business to grow. So to me, that's very crucial, mentorship. As far as sponsors in different organizations, I have a background in organizations. I'm like Hope and Esperanza. I grew up in the chambers as well. And it's important to have those sponsors there that believe in the mission of your organization, of your chamber. It's important to have them there. You're the president and CEO of HACER, Hispanic Organization for Corporate Responsibility. That's extremely important. You know how important these sponsors are. You have to show them what you're doing for your community, because that's how they reach those communities. They're over here, but how do they get to reach those communities? Is by empowering organizations such as HACERS and the different local as well as national chambers.
Thank you, Liz. Niharika, let me go to you. How has mentorship and sponsorship impacted your ascension up the corporate ladder?
Oh, absolutely. And I think I've recruited some sponsors and mentors and been recruited by some mentors. And so I think I'd say a few things. One is, I had the luxury and the opportunity actually to meet with some very senior women across corporate America in administrative functions and executive functions. And there was one lady who was the CIO at Ford Motor Company who said, you would have people believe it's not who you know or what you know, but it's who knows what you know, right? And it's your responsibility to make that happen. And so with that, I would say, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I think, people should be, and I've always done this in my career, if I've been impressed by somebody, whether they're my peer or senior to me, I don't care. Reverse mentorship is also as important. I think the second thing is knowing the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. I think people confuse the two. They're two very different things. And I think it's important to do that. And the third is, I think all it takes is one tap. If you see someone, I mean, I don't know how this happened, but it's organically grown over the last 5 years. I informally mentor about 20, now 23 young women. And as all of us as leaders, diverse leaders, I didn't realize this, but people look to us as role models. And I never thought of us that way. So I think if you find the opportunity to mentor people or ask for mentorship, all it takes is one tap on the shoulder. And that's worked for me tremendously well throughout my career.
Thank you. And Leticia, how has mentorship and sponsorship impacted your rise up within the Port Authority or in your career overall?
Yeah, so, I have been very fortunate to have been blessed with a couple of industry legends in the transportation industry. So transportation industry at the national level only has 15% female representation. And thankfully, my mentors, they're two executive women of color. Decades worth of industry experience. And I just text them and they reply, they make time for me. And so through their actions, they demonstrate how I can emulate being a mentor for others. And, I've always been a firm believer in reciprocity, as I've benefited from a lot of scholarships, fellowships, you name it, that have helped me get through, undergrad and graduate school. And so the resources that I had at my fingertips back at Carnegie Mellon allowed me as a student to be able to network with individuals in the transportation industry. So those folks that I met over 10 years ago are still keeping their eyes on me and checking in with me and demonstrating what it is to be a good mentor. And they're not in my organization. However, they keenly remember what it's like navigating certain situations in the industry. And so I go to them, for advice if I need it. And in terms of looking back, yeah, I mean, I have gone back to work for the nonprofits that I received economic advancement opportunities from. I have donated financially to some of those organizations as well. And then I also volunteer, right? And there's a very good organization called America Needs You. And they provide over 300 hours of mentoring to first and second year college students. I did that for 3 years, and it's a very formal way of providing professional development. But it's a commitment, multi-year commitment. And it was very rewarding to see my mentees get similar fellowships that I received and help them transfer from community college into a 4-year university and graduate from civil engineering, top civil engineering programs. So, you just make a decision and you commit and you deliver. And if you think that, it's beneficial to serve as a mentor and it provides a ladder for others to move up, it just takes dedicating time to make sure that that happens rather than just be at the receiving end of it. And then, one thing, Niharika distinguished between mentor and sponsorship. I hadn't experienced a sponsor until more recently in my career, and it was a male sponsor. And little did I know that he was my male sponsor. I think you end up finding out, you don't know when it's happening. You find out after the fact. But this individual did teach me something, and that is that you should remember that you always have eyes on you. And while you may feel invisible, you may feel you're just marching along, in your mechanical role, maybe in a role that you don't necessarily care to stay in, others are watching what happens outside of that. And it can speak to your ethic, it can speak to your values. And so I'm somebody that's very deliberate about the actions that I do take, and I'm careful about not taking actions if I don't want to be branded in that way. I think it's important to make the time for others that you think are very high potential and deserve to learn about the resources they need in order to advance.
Thank you, Leticia. Robert, mentorship and sponsorship for years, I think would be interesting given the fact that you were 18 years at rising up the ladder within Coldwell Banker. And can you talk about mentorship and sponsorship for you and how that may have helped you rise up the ladder? And are you doing the same in terms of?
When I had heard the question, when I heard the question was going to be a little bit about mentorship, I really started to think back about where in my life did the mentors first appear. As a young man, usually your father is your first mentor. He kind of teaches you your way if you're lucky enough to have fathers in your life, especially one who's active. And I was actually sent to a military academy in my freshman year in high school. So being the smallest kid in Valley Forge Military Academy was pretty rough. And I remember there was a gentleman, and my first idea of what a mentor was somebody who sees something in you that you might not see in yourself. And there was a gentleman there, I don't really often speak about him. His name was Command Sergeant Major McGuigan. As a young guy having it rough, that guy kind of put his hand on my shoulder and he said, you know what, you're going to go somewhere one day, and I got you. And he pulled my father aside, said the same thing to him. And as I went through those 4 years, and I don't even think he knows it, through the 4 years after through college, there was always this person saying, somebody saw something in me that I may not have seen in myself. And that's always where I see the mentor being the most important part of your life. It's almost that coach. It's that person who basically, when you have some kind of a self-doubt, you can lean on, pull through, or have a word of advice that can take you somewhere that otherwise you wouldn't be able to go. I've had great mentors within Coldwell Banker. When I got to this company, I was a young manager. I was probably 26 years old managing an office where the average age was probably twice that of me. And there was a gentleman, and I'm sad to say that we lost him this year to COVID, John von Sternberg in Mountain Lakes. And he was a Mountain Lakes manager for many years, and he all but replaced that. And what he had was, I sought out him as a skill set of which I didn't have. He was more well thought out. He was softer. He was more thoughtful in his approach. And I sometimes can be very reactive to a situation. So I think it's intentional. Sometimes you seek out mentors who are similar to you. I sought out mentors who were very dissimilar to me. Somebody who could help me go to a direction that I might not organically have gone myself. And then as I got better at what I did, or as I spent more time within this company, I became sort of the manager. When I'd see a new person come into this company and they became a manager, I would seek them out and say, I see what you're going through. And I too went through that same. And I'm not looking to be a mentor. I'm not looking to be a coach. I'm looking to be a shoulder to lean on, somebody to help can guide them in the same way and pay forward what I had, paid to me over the course of that time. So through the management aspect, I definitely did that for a lot of the managers. And interesting enough, as you coach others, their growth leads to your growth. And I think as those people who I helped along the way, you almost naturally grow through the corporate channels. You almost naturally move up through the company as more people line up with you and start to realize that your coaching and your support of them have helped them. You organically move up. And I think it wasn't until I very much started to help others that I had the opportunity of moving up through the company. It was 18 years with the company to become president, but the first 14 of them were spent as a manager. I did not move. It went from manager to manager to manager for 14 years, and then it became regional vice president, president quickly. And I think the more people you can help and the more positive impact you can have on other people's lives, the better things happen for you.
Thank you, Robert. Dr. Iacono, how has mentorship and sponsorship helped you rise up the ladder in the community college system, and how are you also mentoring others and sponsoring others?
Yeah, I don't. There's no way I would be doing what I'm doing today without great mentors. And initially, there are people that just, as someone said earlier, they see something in you. And but I think as you move a little bit further in your career, you start to seek out some mentors. And to me, what's critical is find people who are very different than you so that you can learn from them. You'll have lots of friends you have things in common with, but the great strength is to find someone that knows things that you don't know, has been where you haven't been, who's very different than you as a person. And mentoring is a relationship, right? So it's a give and take the whole time. It is different, as someone else said. It's not, mentoring and sponsoring are not the same thing. But there's no way I would be doing what I do today if I didn't have great mentors. So I'm a very, very big believer in it, and do try to take others under my wing, whether they are students over past years have mentored. And what's wonderful in those relationships is they become increasingly rich over the years. So some of the individuals that I mentored, it's 20 years ago when they were students, and now they're out and they're professionals. That's really exciting in itself, that you had a little something to do with that. It feels really, really good that you could help someone. Sometimes they're employees today. And for me, one of my mentees is a rising administrator at another school. And but either way, it's invaluable to have great mentors, but it's critically important to remember to give back as well. If you're simply taking and you enjoy all the benefits, but you don't give back, I think you fail to get the whole message. Mentoring is about relationships. It's about understanding the impact on your life and making sure that you're giving the time to share that with others as well.
Thanks, Dr. Iacono. I'm gonna, for the sake of time, I'm gonna combine the last two questions together because they're very similar, and it relates to diversity and inclusion and Hispanic inclusion and outreach. Can you talk about why it's so important to engage with the Hispanic community from a talent and business needs, and why Hispanic inclusion and why overall diversity and inclusion is so pivotal for the work that you do as executives. Let me start with Niharika and get your thoughts.
Sure, I'll keep it short because I know we're running out of time. But for me, I think when I think about diversity being about numbers, but inclusion being about culture. And for me, that's a marked difference, because when you can make it part of your culture, you innovate differently. And I think it's not just about racial, ethnic diversity, it's also diversity of thought, which I think is very critical to innovation. And so one of the companies I work with, we walk on the sort of bleeding edge of technology and financial technology. And our purpose is to make financial well-being more accessible through the use of technology. So, given the spending power, the buying power, the growth of the Hispanic segment, it is absolutely necessary, from a business vitality perspective, to make sure that we're inclusive in what we're doing and thinking about and inviting perspectives that are diverse and inclusive. I'll give you a very quick example, personal example. We one of the world's largest burger companies, I'll stop there, decided to try to get South Asians into their high frequency customers. So they first sent out a postcard to, I would think, seemingly people of Indian origin, because the script was in Hindi. And it said something along the lines of, we've launched this new vegetarian burger. And I was reading it aloud and translating it to my kids, and they felt actually very disappointed because they're meat eating. And so they didn't like the fact that they were being told to eat vegetarian, but secondly, they almost thought of it as counter to then the Hindu culture. They were like, are we doing something wrong? And so, it's just those sensitivities that for me, that was an epiphany, which is, oh my gosh, we really need to think about how we message, how we communicate, and being more inclusive in that approach.
Thank you, Niharika. I'm going to come back to you, Dr. Iacono. Why is diversity and inclusion so important to what you do as president of County College of Morris, and also how important is it in terms of also Hispanic inclusion?
It's critical, right? And this is what our college pushes very hard on every day. This is what we decided several years ago we were going to really focus on and transform this institution. I truly believe homogenous organizations are failed organizations. I cannot run my college, and no college should run on the basis of too often what higher ed has looked like, which is based on homogenous, right? It's been overwhelmingly male dominated, predominantly white, from middle to upper class households with PhDs. How on earth will we ever connect with our students if the background is largely the same? How will we understand them? How will we really teach them? How will we embrace them so that they can not only get the benefits of the institution, but really influence who we are as a college and the directions we have to move in? We cannot really fulfill what our mission is about and become a great college if we are homogenous. And we are, as I say, we're working hard on that. If you walk around our campus, you're going to say, it looks pretty homogenous. We've made some big pushes in recent years. How we recruit students, where we're recruiting, how we support those students, who we hire, how we support our employees, and who we promote, all matter enormously, right? So we can't teach certain things, but students are sitting in a classroom looking around and their professors all look the same, and the administration looks the same, and the support staff looks the same. Their classmates cannot look the same. If we're really going to educate people and really equip them to be that next generation of leaders or good, responsible citizens, then diversity matters, equity matters, inclusion matters. So for us, that's got to be built into the fabric of what we do here every single day. The Hispanic community is vital, and I'll say with some real heartfelt affection. I'm a kid who grew up outside of Hartford, Connecticut, moved to Florida. Okay, so I grew up predominantly around Italians. Moved to Florida, not a lot of Italians. Huge Hispanic population. They're a lot like Italians. It was a little bit like being home. It felt good how the families interact, the food, the culture. We're loud, we're animated people, we're exciting. So that was wonderful to have those pieces back. When I come up here, same thing. It's in some ways more diverse as a population, but getting that onto the campus and bringing this college into the community to interact, that's what we're focused on. There's no way we will be an overwhelmingly great college, a national leader, if we don't have that ingredient in the mix. If we function like traditional higher ed, then we failed like an organization, like other organizations, there's no doubt. So I got to tell you, I mean, we have a powerful initiative with the Dover community, with community partners, the school district, and we love that. But the relationship that the college has been forging with the Hispanic American Chamber is invaluable. I hope that we can really serve the chamber with excellence and we can bring great value. But I have to tell you, what the chamber is doing for our school is invaluable as well. It's changing the way we think. It's giving us the opportunity to learn and to grow. So like that mentorship, it is a relationship in itself. It's what we can give, but also what we can learn and how it can change and make us better.
Thank you, Dr. Iancono. Robert, diversity and inclusion at Coldwell Banker. So tell us why this is important to you, why diversity and inclusion is important, why Hispanic inclusion is important in terms of what you do as CEO.
And do all of that in 1 minute or less.
No, not easy, but yeah.
Irrespective of everybody's time, I'll try to speed through as much as I can on this. But it's huge. One of our company's core philosophies, and I respect this as it came through our new leadership, was that we believe the answer is in the masses. Anthony, this goes a lot with what you said. There's the right way to do things out there, but if you have a homogenous group of people and the mass that you're consulting with to find that right answer is all the same, you're not going to get a diversity of opinions or differentiations. We have a philosophy of disagree and commit. You're not going to disagree if all your mindsets are exactly aligned. So you need to have diversity amongst that group in order to actually arrive at what's best and the best decision oftentimes. So as a company, 100%, you have to have diversity and it has to be intentional. One of our actual actions is it's intentional diversity, not diversity by accident. When we look at, hiring new positions, we don't immediately hire up the heir apparent or the person within the organization who would be good at the role because we know they would be good. We leave the position open longer. We post it online. We interview externally outside of our company to make sure that we have a differential in applicants so that we can really make sure that the decision we're making is for the best interest and gives us that differentiation we need. We have diversity panels and groups within our companies. We have employee resource groups that have 8 different diversity. They have panels. We just had one last week. I have a gentleman, I know he's watching on Facebook. He's texting me over here. His name's Roderick Logan, who heads this panel. I had to give him a shout out while I can. He would never let me live it down if I didn't. So they get together, they celebrated Diwali, which I believe is going on, and they get together and they do this and they bring out each other's cultures and they share it. Why it matters to me now from a business point of view, not just because one, it's the right thing to do, and we owe it to our community because we represent a diverse community, so we should properly reflect them. Now go right to the Hispanic market, 47% increase. I've got stats over here, so I don't think these are coming off my brain. 47% increase in homeownership in 2019 for the Hispanic market. That's the 5th year in a row that the Hispanic homeownership rate has increased. 51% net growth in homeownership. Non-Hispanic homeownership is only up 1.5%. Diversity-wise, as far as what we do in the home sale and in the real estate business, it's amazing. It has to be done. So 1, because it's right. 2, because it's our mission as our company to be inclusive of everybody. And 3, it makes good business sense if you really want to put it down to just the end all. So all of those reasons, I don't think I did it in a minute or less, Sid, but I tried.
No, I know. I appreciate that. I want to be cognizant of time. If Liz and Leticia, what I'd love to do is I want to bring in Sebastian Breen. He's the Director of Public Relations for the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce. He has been monitoring some of the questions from the audience, and I know we're going to try to do a bit of a lightning round. And I may just ask one person to ask the questions so that we can try to get as many while we can. There's just a few minutes that we have left.
Sure. Thank you, Sid. Yes. Well, thank you, everybody, for your time. And first question we have from the chat is there something specific that you have in place in your organization for inclusion to thrive?
Yeah. So let's see. Do one of you want to take a shot at that question?
Well, I could say, it's not just a moral, but it's also an imperative to practice diversity and inclusion in today's businesses, especially in our industry. We all need to accept each other and embrace each other's differences. Right now, most of our ad campaigns in the food and beverages, especially like the Coca-Cola company, we market our products to a diverse audience. It's being reflected in all across our marketing campaigns. And that's important because we need to know that as we move forward, this is a new world and we have to accept people from different backgrounds, different points of views. And that in order for us to be in touch with our consumers, we have to have diversity and inclusion.
Thanks, Sebastian.
right.
If I have time for maybe one more question, I think, right?
One more question.
Yeah.
Sure. This one we get it from Willie Montano from the chat. In your respective organizations, in what way can your minority employees or external minority-owned organizations get a one-on-one time with you?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Busy schedules.
That's a creative question. Who wants to take a shot at that?
Can you repeat that again?
Sure. Sure. In your respective organizations, in what way can your minority employees or external minority-owned organizations get one-on-one time with you?
In other words, how can they get access to you?
All right, Sid, I'll jump on this one quickly
Yeah,
for you.
sure.
My cell phone number's on my business card. I have 4,000 agents. I have 50 or so managers, a couple hundred employees. My cell phone number's on my business card. I spoke earlier about the diversity panels, the events that we have. I go to every one of them. I pop up on the FaceTime, the Zoom calls with them. They can walk into a door. I'll meet them for a cup of coffee. We run, while large, we run like a very small organization here. So there's no shortage of ability. And I think if you want to do proper within your organizations, having the ability for somebody to reach out directly to you and get to you is an important aspect. So for me, just grab my business card, go on my website, my cell phone's there. It's not
I love that answer. Sometimes it's just, just try and call LinkedIn. My one recommendation is if you're trying to get access to these esteemed leaders, you just ask for, I think as Robert said, just a short time, coffee, 5-10 minutes. Don't ask for a 2-hour meeting because these are very busy people and they're gonna, but if you make it very easy, I think there's a good chance they'll say yes. So this is good. So
Can I just jump in with one maybe actionable idea, which is, first of all, if you don't ask, you don't get. So please feel free to ask. But I think be specific in what you're looking for, because I get requests that are very general, which is, hey, I can thank you for connecting me on LinkedIn. Are you up for a chat? No. So I think put some more thought into what you're looking to discuss, and I think it'll have a higher rate of success.
I agree with that 1000%. So again, a big thanks to our esteemed panelists for taking time from their very busy schedules. Liz Berman, President and CEO of Continental Beverage and Food, Inca Cola. Robert Norman, President and CEO for Coldwell Banker Real Estate. Niharika Shah, CEO and founder of Sheriff and Chief Marketing Officer of the Tiffin Group. Dr. Anthony Iancono, President of County College of Morris. And our keynote speaker, Leticia Cavanas, Deputy Chief of Staff for the Office of Diversity and Inclusion for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Thank you all so much for participating. And with that, I pass it back to the incomparable esteemed leader, the founder of the Morris County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Chairman Emeritus, the one and only Esperanza Porras Field. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all the panelists and thank you all the participants. But I would like Sebastian, our Director of Public Relations, to do the closing. Thank you.
Sure. Well, to close this event, we want to say thank you to everybody on this call, especially Mr. Cavines, Mrs. Cavines, our keynote speaker, for her contribution, as well as Mr. Sid Wilson, excellent moderator, and also Tony Milelli, which she was in the background of the event, also helping coordinating everything out. She was co-chair for this event, for your diligence to handle everything during this session. We appreciate the time of our 4 panelists, as well as the value and experience that they brought to the event and all of us. We want to extend a special thank you to our sponsors, the Coca-Cola Company, and as well as Wells Fargo, for enabling the Morris County Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce to bring this type of events to you. A special thank you as well to Ralph Tejeda, our chairman of the board and chair for this event, as well as Esperanza Porras Field, president emeritus and founder of the Chamber of Commerce, for always being on the look for ways to bring value to our members and business owners in general. We always appreciate that. And finally, a thank you to everybody in this event that was able to participate in our annual CEO Summit. We hope the information, advice, and experience brought by our recognized group of panelists and keynote speaker will add value to you and your business by bringing diversity and inclusion to it. I'll pass it back to you, Esperanza. Thank you very much to everybody.
Okay, this concludes our program. Good evening and have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.